Welcome back, everyone. Today we are doing some homemade Christmas presents. So we're going to be making these wax melts or wax tarts, depending on what you call them. You can get them at the store, but most of the store-bought ones have soy or petroleum products in them. So we're making them today out of coconut oil and beeswax. And this is the beeswax we got. You can get the bleached white pellets if you want to control the color more. These will just tend to be yellowish. This is completely uncolored here. They're kind of cream colored, but if you want to add color, maybe go with the bleach. These also have a bit of a smoky scent to them, just because it's the more natural form of the beeswax. So if you're concerned about that smoky scent carrying over, we haven't noticed it in our wax melt so far, but that would be another reason to get the ultra refined bleached ones. So anyway, you'll want to use an equal amount of beeswax and coconut oil. You can play around with this recipe. We've done harder melts, so if you want them to last longer, put in more beeswax, where we did like a 1 cup beeswax to half a cup coconut oil. This made it really hard to clean our kitchenware afterwards because it doesn't melt very well in water. But we found the 1-to-1 works well. It melts more slowly than some of them. We've also seen recipes that use like 2 cups coconut oil to 1 cup beeswax, and this is more affordable and again easier to clean. However, they won't last as long in your wax warmer. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So what you'll need is, like I said, your beeswax here. And I'm making a small batch right now, so I'm doing half a cup of beeswax. And what I have set up here, you can kind of see, this is our double boiler. I think that's what it's called. But I have water boiling in there, and then I'm just going to melt this on top. You can also do this in the microwave, but it seems a little bit trickier to get just the temperatures and stuff. You'll also want a thermometer potentially, because these wax, the clamshells, can only be poured into at 140 degrees. And if you pour hotter than that, they will melt and it'll create a mess on the stove. So you want to be careful with that. But we're going to do half a cup of our beeswax, and then I have a large container here of coconut oil. You can get just store-bought coconut oil as well, but you'll want the solid coconut oil. You can also use palm oil, kind of up to you. There's similar melting points. We're using coconut oil. So we'll put a half a cup in here, and then we will melt that. Waiting for our wax or our oils to melt, we can go ahead and pick out our fragrance. You can kind of see here I have a variety of fragrances to choose from, but you'll want something with a higher flash point. So something really high in vanilla is a little more difficult because you don't want to add it until it gets below the temperature. So like this one has a flash point of 142. So you need to make sure the temperature of your oils is below 142 before you add that, or you won't be left with fragrance in your wax melts. So a better choice would be something like this one that has a flash point of 200. But these you can buy online, you can buy in craft stores, anything like that. But kind of a good starting point would be, I'm going to measure it out here and get to the ounces. I have about half an ounce here, so you want 1 to 2 ounces per pound of oils, or what I'm using here is an ounce per 2 cups of oil. I know that's not exactly a pound, but that's what we're using. And the reason I'm doing a small batch is because this is all I had left of my chestnuts fragrance, and I really wanted to make a batch for Christmas, so that'll give us a couple here. You can see our oils are starting to melt here. The beeswax has melted, which is that yellowish color that you're seeing, because the coconut oil will melt clear. So you can just go ahead and stir this occasionally, just until it's all melted. And once it's melted, then we'll pull out our thermometer. Well, we'll pull this off of the stove first and start letting it cool. And then we'll pull out our thermometer because, like I said, if it gets above our flash point, we don't want to add our fragrance in when it's too hot. If you're adding colorant, I would use solid colorant, as many of the liquid ones are water-based and that will not mix well with your wax melts. So you can use a mica or titanium dioxide, something in here if you want color. We're not going to be doing that today, but you can see we're almost melted, so we're going to switch over to our thermometer, and you can see I did open up our clamshells here so they are ready to go. So now you can see I took it off the pot and I have my thermometer here. So I'm just going to start checking the temperature. The flash point of this fragrance is 200 degrees, so I can add it anytime. So then I'll probably add it at about 150 to give me time to stir it in, and then once it drops below 150, I will quickly try and put it in these molds because it does start to harden or just get kind of lumpy, chunky, whatever you want to say, once it hits 135. So you have a narrow window. Obviously you can just keep reheating it, but it needs to be below 140 if you're using these plastic clamshells, as it will melt through them. If you are using a silicone mold, go ahead and pour anytime and then set them off to the side to cool, or you can put them in the fridge to cool. Okay, so now that it's started to cool off, I'm going to go ahead and add in my fragrance so I can get it nice and blended in there, because you'll see it'll kind of solidify or sink to the bottom. So you'll want to leave plenty of time to stir that in. Another way to help your oils cool down faster is just to constantly stir them. You will end up with wax left over on your spoon that you'll have to kind of scrub off, but it does make an excellent lotion. If you do make a mess, you can just kind of rub it all over, because the beeswax helps keep in the moisture from the coconut oil too. So now I have my fragrance mixed in, and I'm just going to keep stirring to try and get this down to the temperature where I can pour it in the molds. I'm at roughly 142 right now. We're slowly starting to drop, so we'll just keep stirring. Alright, I just dropped below 140. I'm going to give it one more degree to 139 to help not melt my clamshells, hopefully. I haven't been successful so far. Either I've been melting them or they've had micro cracks. In each batch I've had one that just kind of gives out, so be prepared to clean that up. But then we're just going to go ahead and start pouring. You could use a funnel if you want, but I found this isn't too bad to just pour it in here. Just go nice and slow. Alright, so the 1 cup batch makes roughly 3 wax melts. And if you want, you can try to take this and melt it down again just to see if you can capture any more of that. But that will give you your wax melts. You can see they're nice and yellow right now, but they'll solidify into that cream color. So I'll let them set for just a minute before I transfer them into the fridge to let them set for an hour or so, mostly because I forget about them. They don't really take that long, but that helps them just set really hard. And then you can snap the covers on, which I have here, and label them as you see fit and give them out, and they should snap out nice and easy. Alright, so our finished batch kind of looks like this. This one I filled less full so you can actually see it, but otherwise you can pop the whole thing out. But you can see it just kind of nicely, it just drops right out, and this will be your finished product. Smells very good. It seems like it'll be nice and strong. Gotta put these back in the right holder. You'd think they'd be all the same size, but they're not quite. I suppose with the plastic it deforms just a little bit. But they pop out really easily, easy to open. Feel free to label these with stickers. You could use like address labels to put on the scent and maybe what's in it. Some people are allergic to soy, so you maybe want to let them know that there isn't any soy in there. Otherwise, package these up and give them out. And they are close to the same cost as what you'd buy at the store. It's just under $1 if you buy your oils in bulk, like that big bag of beeswax I bought. However, it's much higher quality. You're not breathing in petroleum products. You're not putting out soy into the air. You can use soy. We just have some soy allergies in our family, so we're not using that. Hopefully this was a fun craft for you and makes for a fun homemade gift, or even just to make them for yourself, because if you buy the beeswax melts at the store, they're quite a bit more expensive than making them yourselves. Another cost savings would be is you use a silicone mold instead of these clamshells, and then just package them in a cute little cloth bag that might be reusable. Thanks so much for joining us. If you liked it, don't forget to leave us a thumbs up and subscribe. If there's any crafts you would like to see us do, leave a comment below and we will try and do that. Thanks again.